Hello, and in this training video, we're going to go over posting a net positive insurance payment, where some of the patients on the EOB will have a negative payment amount and others will have a positive payment amount. This will most likely mirror how you will post vision insurance payments with materials. To start your payment, we're going to go into the accounting module and payments. You can select the insurance button next to receive payment. And now we're going to select the insurance payer. We're going to select VSP today as we will be posting a net positive VSP payment. When you start an insurance payment, the cursor defaults in the upper left. This is where we are going to put the full amount that we're receiving from the insurance company. Let's go ahead and take a look at a VSP EOB that I have that we can post from. I'm going to scroll to the last page so we can look at the details of the payment. Here we can see our reference number, so we have received a check with our check number, and this is our total payment amount that we are receiving. We are going to take that information and bring it over to our payment in Revolution EHR. In the top left, we're going to put that full amount we're receiving from the insurance company, so that was $461.21. This defaults to EFT because that's what I have selected in my admin settings, but in this case, it is going to be a check. And now we can enter in that reference number from the EOB as well. So that was 91937. If you'd like to change your payment date to match your EOB, you're more than welcome to. You can select the lookup or free type. I'm going to go ahead and backdate this to the 31st. If you are a multi-location, you can select which location you would like to put this payment to. Because this EOB has exams and materials, we're going to use two different write-offs. We're going to select the write-offs we would like to use in the top right. The write-off reasons available to you pull from your admin area. For our write-offs today, we're going to use a lab charge or a chargeback, which is basically the cost the office takes for making the materials. Some people call it a chargeback, some people call it a lab charge. It really depends on what your office wants to call that. We're going to select that from our drop-down, click our Add button, and you'll see that reason. We're also just going to select my generic VSP write-off. Some people have these very specific, and some people keep them very generic. Some people have VSP lab charge, VSP write-off, IMED lab charge, IMED write-off, so on and so forth. Others keep it very generic. It really depends on what data you want to see from your reports at the end of the period. So now we're ready to start posting. We have our payment amount, our payment method, a reference number, a payment date, our location, and our write-offs selected in the top right. I want to jump out of order a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and save this as pending. So when I select Save as Pending, this will save this payment so that I can keep working it. The reason we're going to do this is I've already went ahead and posted the very first page of our EOB, so I want you guys to see that. Now we're going to pull up that saved payment. I was posting to all locations, so I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And here is that payment that we were posting from. Now that we've reopened our saved or pending payment, you will notice in the top right, our write-offs did not stay. That is completely normal. Once a payment is saved, those write-off reasons will need to be put back on the payment. So we're going to go ahead and reselect them. We're going to select our lab charge and add, and our vision write-off and add. Because I already started posting this, you will notice the bottom of our payment column has an amount in red. It is $105.25. This amount being red does not indicate it is negative. It indicates that the payment amount here does not match our payment amount in the top left. We will not truly be able to apply this payment until these amounts match. That is why it's in red. So let's go ahead and see how we can tie this number back to our EOB. We have our 105.21 that I've already posted. Let's look at that EOB. I've went ahead and posted the very first page of this EOB for us. If we scroll to the second page of the EOB, we will notice in the header that first page amount. Here we can see that we should have posted from the first page 105.21. That's exactly what we have listed in Revolution. That is where that number is coming from, and that's the number to tie back page 1 of the EOB. Because we have that amount already posted, we are going to go ahead and start posting our next patient. On our EOB, I can see our next patient is Hydrangea Petal. She received a comprehensive exam and a refraction. Here in our provider payment column, VSP is paying us $28 on the exam and $8.25 on the refraction for a total of $36.25. Another column to notate is this copay column. Here it says that the patient should have had a $5 exam copay. Let's go ahead and head on into Revolution and look at that together. We are going to find that patient in our EOB. This is listed alphabetically by patient name. Here is Hydrangea Petal. We are going to scroll to the right of her, and we're going to line item post this payment by going into the items hyperlink here. Notice when I hover my cursor, it does become a hyperlink with that underline. Simply single click that, and you're going to get a payment items screen. Within this payment items screen, you can see our payment column and 2 transfer columns. These columns do not indicate that they are actual transfers. You can see from the bottom what they really are. Transfer 1 correlates to number 1 down here, which is actually a write-off and lab charge. Transfer 2 correlates with number 2. This is actually a write-off and the vision write-off. In this case, we don't have materials. We can leave this lab charge because it's going to be a 0, or we can simply single click the remove to remove that column. Now notice we have a payment column and a transfer 1. Now transfer 1 correlates to our vision write-off. Before we start posting any lab charges or chargebacks, if you hover over the adjustment amount in your adjustment column, you can see what was potentially already collected or sent to the patient. In this case from our EOB, we know that Hydrangea had a $5 copay. If we hover over this $5, here we can see that it was transferred as a coinsurance copay. So now we know that that was accurate according to our EOB. We can go ahead with our posting. We're going to simply highlight our amount in our payment column and change it to the amount we were paid from VSP. In this case, they paid us $28. I can either hit the Tab key to go to my write-off or the Enter key to navigate down. In this case, I'm going to hit Tab to go to my write-off. When I click Tab, it highlights the amount for me, and I can tell from my balance I have $92 left on this item. Because I've already collected my $5 copay, I'm going to write off this balance of $92. I'm going to select Tab again to navigate to the refraction. Here we collected $8.25 from VSP. I'm going to click Tab, and that leaves my balance to write off as $31.75. There was nothing that went to the patient. I can hover and see a 0 coinsurance went out, but we know the patient didn't owe anything. So I'm going to input $31.75. Now, because I'm still in this field, my balance hasn't updated. If I click Tab one more time, we will notice that my balance is now 0, and my after payment and transfers is 0 as well. This means this VSP invoice will change to a balance of 0 and automatically mark as paid when we're done posting. We're going to select Save in the bottom right to move on to our next patient. These amounts will not apply until we actually apply the entire payment. Selecting Save will just save this portion of the payment to this patient. Let's look at the next patient on our EOB. Here we have Hops Petal. Hops Petal has a refraction and an exam with different payment amounts. Notice that these are the same exact codes, but there's different reimbursements. This probably means they have a different plan than the other one, and that's normal. That's why you want to make sure to reference your EOB to get the correct amounts. In this case, Hops received a payment of $36.75, and Hops had a $10 copay. Let's go take a look at that. Here is the Hops pedal. Again, we are going to scroll to the right, select the 0 items hyperlink to open up the payment items. Again, in our adjustment column, I can see a $10 adjustment already happened, and it looks like it was that $10 copay. I don't need to change anything on this patient's reimbursement. We're going to go ahead and leave both columns, and we're just going to skip over our lab charge because it's not needed. So I'm going to start on our payment. Here, I'm going to enter in that $27.40 amount. And instead of clicking tab because I have extra fields, I'm actually going to click enter to go down one field. For our refraction, we were paid $9.35. I'm going to now come up to our transfer number 2, which is actually our vision write-off, and I'm going to put my cursor up here. From the balance, I see my balance to write off is $106.60. I'm going to select enter to navigate down one field and enter in $30.65 from our balance and click tab to get out of this field. Again, our balance is left over as 0. Our after payments and transfers is 0, and I'm going to select save. So that's pretty easy. When you're posting exams or exam and refractions only, those are pretty straightforward. Now we're going to look at a patient that has a negative amount on the EOB. Now remember, what we're looking at has been this provider payment and this copay. Now that we're going to post materials, we have a little bit more to look at. So what we're going to have to look at now is we want to make sure we're collecting the correct amount for our materials. So the patient should have paid not only this copay amount, but the material amount. So we're going to make sure that the patient invoice or the adjustments have listed these. These two numbers are just to tie back the patient payments to this EOB to ensure that we haven't over or under collected from the patient. What we're actually going to post in Revolution are going to be these two amounts. We received a negative payment amount of negative $107.75, and we got chargebacks of $234.56. These are the two columns we are going to post in Revolution. We're going to hop back in Revolution and start with our posting. Here, we're going to do the same for our sunflower petal. We're going to scroll to the right, select the 0 items hyperlink to open up the payment items to line item post our payment. If you are not familiar with Vision or Vision postings, you will notice that there is a code column on the far right. When in doubt, like in these two instances, we have a miscellaneous Vision service. Instead of looking at the descriptions, you can always tie this code back to our EOB. In this case, those V2799s are listed here as well as miscellaneous services. If you are looking at this and you don't know what a photochromatic lens is, you can look at the V code, the V2744, and look at it in Revolution to know what exactly it is. We're going to start again on our exam and refraction. Those are usually the easiest two, so it's a great place to start. In our payment column for this patient, we should have selected a $10 copay, which is correct. Nothing on the refraction. We're going to go ahead and put our amount paid, which is $23. There is no lab charge. We're just going to click enter to move down a field. Yet again, if you'd like to immediately write off that balance, you can hit tab and go to the next field or simply click in that field. We received $8.25 on the refraction. And then I personally like to post my frame next. I follow the flow of Revolution versus the flow of the EOB because these top 3 items do not have chargebacks historically. Therefore, it's easier to kind of get those out of the way and post them first. Looking at our EOB, the patient should have paid $127.20. And sure enough, the overage from the vision allowance was $127.20 that went to the patient. We received a payment of $67.50 on that frame. So I'm going to hit enter again and type in $67.50 on the frame. Now that we got the 3 items knocked out that have no lab charges or chargebacks, Let's go ahead and take another look at our EOB. Here we have our $23, our $8.25, and then I hopped on down to the frame down here for $67.50. The next payment we're going to post is $3.50. It is listed here on our bifocal lenses. Another slight difference between your EOB and Revolution is they have a quantity of 2. In Revolution, we only have a quantity of 1. So you can either put $3.50 on one lens, or you can divide it out and divide that amount by 2 and put it on 2. Because the amount is so minimal, I'm just going to group that together on one lens. Here we can see we have our base bifocal, and then we have a progressive lens. I'm just going to hop down here instead of entering or tabbing and put in our $3.50. Now we have our very first lab charge or chargeback. Here on our base bifocal lenses, we took a chargeback of $24.56. Now this is the amount the office is paying to make these lenses. So this reduces our payment. Because this lab charge or chargeback is not listed in our payment column, we're going to follow the EOB and only put it in our lab charge column. So that would be $24.56. We're going to find that progressive lens, and over here in our lab charge, down here it's write-off number 1, we're going to put the $24.56. Write-offs are already negative, so there's no need to put a negative in the front of any of your write-off columns. Let's look at the next line item. We've gotten to here, and now we have a number of zeros on both columns. So we can hop on down to our edge polish. We got a lab charge for this, and it reduced our payment. So in this case, we have a negative $6 that needs to go in our payment column and a chargeback of $6. I'm going to post the next 2 items without looking at the EOB. We have a negative 6 on the polish, and we have a negative 15 on our polycarb. Our polish was considered under one of those miscellaneous services. I'm going to go ahead and put negative $6 here. I'm going to click tab to go to our lab charge and put our $6 on this item. I'm going to go to our polycarb and do the same, negative 15 and positive 15. So we're following that EOB step by step. We're putting our negative to reduce our payment, and we're putting our lab charge in our chargeback or lab charge column. Now we're at our negative 51. That one is for our photochromatic. We have a negative 51 on that and a negative 52 on our AR. We're going to go ahead and post negative 51 and negative 52. Here's our negative 51. I'm going to select tab again to put our 51 here. And I'm actually just going to go down and put our negative 52 and our positive 52. Notice our payment column has now gone negative, and that is completely normal. With vision, some patients may have a positive payment and some may have a negative payment. All right, we have a payment reduction here of $7 on our backside UV and $59 on our progressive. We're going to go ahead and post those 2 as well. Here is our UV. We're going to put negative 7. I'm going to click tab, put our positive 7 for our chargeback, and then we're going to go to our progressive lens. So we already posted a little bit on our progressive lenses here, so we're now going to post it as well here. This was our negative amount. So we're going to post negative 79 and our positive 79. Now that we finished posting all of the payments on the payment column and all the chargebacks in our lab charge or chargeback column, we're going to compare that to our EOB one more time. Comparing what we have in Revolution to our EOB, what we're looking for is negative 107.75 in our payment column. And sure enough, we have negative 107.75. In our lab charge or chargeback column, we should have 234.56, and that's exactly what we have. Now that our payment in Revolution matches our payment on our EOB, we're going to write off the balances. This is a great place to use the Enter button to navigate down. Here is our Transfer To, which correlates to our Vision write-off. We're going to put what's left in our balance columns here in our write-off column. We're going to start with the first one and put $111. I'm going to hit enter and go down. $31.75, enter. $94, $94, $30, $40, $40, $8, $25, $15, $59.44, $87.50, $40, $25, and $25, enter. Again, what we're looking for is this balance column to be 0. Our after payments and transfers is now $107.75. That's okay because we have a negative payment on this invoice. So we're going to select Save in the bottom. Here we have that negative $107.75, and that's exactly how it should look because it is reducing that payment column by those lab charges or chargebacks. Let's move on to the next patient on our EOB. We have Ben Solo with an exam and a refraction totaling $26.25. We're going to scroll and look for Ben Solo. We're going to select the 0 items hyperlink to go into that patient. Now this one looks a little bit different. Notice on this one we have our exam, our refraction, and then some materials. In this case, we are not going to post anything to the materials. In this case, it looks like they already paid on the exam and refraction, but they have yet to pay on the materials. We are not going to write those off, post any lab charges or payments on the materials, just the exam. Again, we're going to start in the top left, and we're going to post $18 on the exam. I'm going to click enter to go to the refraction, post the $8.25, and then just write off the balances on those 2 items. So there's the $111 and then the $31.75. In this case, we still have an amount in our balance column. Like I said earlier, that is completely normal. They haven't paid the materials, and there's no point in us writing those off because we want to make sure we collect our payment from VSP. We're going to click Save and go on to our next person. Our next person on our EOB looks a little bit funny because he is split between 2 pages. So in this case, we want to make sure that we look at both pages of our EOB. For this patient, we received $23 on the exam, $8.25 on the refraction. He had a $10 copay, and there's his materials. Sometimes it's easier to make sure to post the exam and refraction first, and then you can just move on down to the materials in this case. That one was for Jim Halpert, so we're going to scroll back up, and we're going to go into Jim's items. With Jim, we want to make sure that we have the correct copay amount. So let's hover over that adjustment column. Notice here how we actually selected a $20 copay, and this one is also set up with a fee schedule, so it looks a little bit different. In this case, we do need to reduce his copay to the $10. We're going to add in an additional column, and this time it is going to be a true transfer. If a patient already has a pending patient invoice, this will default to that existing invoice. What I'm going to do is have transfer selected, select my coinsurance copay, have it default to his invoice, and click Add Transfer / Write-Off. This now loads with 4 columns. In this column, we're going to take back part of that money to Jim. We're going to put a negative transfer of $10. The reason this is negative is we're reducing what he already paid. See how our amount changed? And now when we post this, instead of it being a $20 transfer, it'll be a $10 transfer to match our EOB. You can't see that because we haven't truly applied it, but you can tell it is working because our adjustment of 119 went down to 110. Let's keep going forward with our posting. We received $33 on Jim's exam and $8.25 on his refraction. Again, I like to hop down to the frame just to get the 3 items with no chargebacks posted. Here, the patient should have paid the $47.20, and we received $101.50 on the frame. We can hover And sure enough, we received the $47.20 from the patient. Now starts our lens materials. We got paid $8.50 on our progressive lens. We paid $24.56 to make the base bifocal. Let's go ahead and get those two items posted, and then we will continue with the rest of it. So here's our progressive lens. Here's our base bifocal. Our AR coding, we have a positive payment and a lab charge, and these are different amounts. That's okay. We're going to put 33 in our payment column because this is what we're posting in Rev as far as the payment column goes. And we're going to post 52 in our lab charge or chargeback column. So we have 33, 52, and then we have our backside UV, which is 3 and 7. Here's our 33. Here's our 52. We don't put a negative because this is a write-off column. It's already negative. We're going to put our $3 on our AR and our 7 on our chargeback. That moves us down to 51 on our progressive. So we have 51 on our progressive, and then we have 20 on our polycarb. We have 54 as our lab charge and our 15 as well. Here's our other progressive lens. I'm going to put the 51. Remember, you can divide this out between the two, or you can simply group it. We have our 54 as our lab charge. On our progressive, we had a payment of 20 and a chargeback of 15. Now we're going to move down to our transitions. We have a payment of 31, a chargeback of 51, and we have our polish as a -6 and a +6. Here's our transition. We're going to put in the 31 here. We're going to click Tab to move on to our 51. And we're now going to do our polish. This was negative on the EOB, so we are going to put our negative. And then we're going to put our positive. Let's compare our payment in Rev to our payment for VSP. Here I can see that our chargeback column should be 209.56, and here it is as well, transfer number 1, which is our chargeback, 209.56. Our payment amount in the EOB is 273.25, but in Rev it's 283.25. Now I know I did something incorrectly, and I can go through my items to look at those. I'm going to scroll back up to the first page. And sure enough, I messed up our payment amount, so this one was a pretty easy one to find. So our payment amount should have been 23 and not 33. I'm going to manually change this in Rev. Select out of that field, 273.25, just like our EOB says. Now that our payments within Revolution match, we're just going to go through our column number 2, which is our write-off, and write off those balances. We're going to put 12, 3. Notice on this one, we have a negative amount in our balance column. The reason we have a negative amount is because I did set this one up with a fee schedule. It's not common for you to have a negative amount in your payment column, but in this case, we got paid more from the insurance plan than my fee schedule allowed. So I'm actually going to put a negative amount here. So I'm going to put the negative 1870. That'll bring it up to a 0. I'm going to select enter and do the same on the next line item. Here I'm going to go in and put our $11 balance, $8 balance, bring up that other write-off, -25, $1, $38.50, -58, 2, 25, and 25. Again, we want to check our balance column. We're at 0. Our after payments and transfers is 0. We're going to select save and go to the next person on our EOB. All right, we have one more person left on our EOB. This one is for Pam Halpert, and it looks like she got an exam, a refraction, and contact lens fitting fee. She doesn't have any lab charges, and she only had a $10 copay. Let's compare this to Rev. Again, we find our patient, scroll to the right, select the 0 items hyperlink. I'm going to remove the lab charge write-off because we don't need it. You can also leave it. For this patient, she did pay her $10 copay, and she has a $9 write-off already on this. So we can see when we hover, there was a 0 coinsurance, but this one was just a write-off. So I know we only collected the $10 from the patient. We're going to start with our payment column. We got paid $23 from VSP for that, $8.25 for her refraction, and $60 on her fitting. I'm going to go ahead and click in our next field and write off the balance of $111, $31.75, and $20. Our balance column is at 0. Our after payments and transfers is 0, and we're going to select save. The minute we save that, you will notice that your payment amount is no longer red. This means we have officially done it. We can post our payment. Now that our payment amount up here matches our payment over here, and we're in balance with our EOB, we're simply going to click Apply Payments to apply this payment entirely. Once your payment has applied, you will get a success message in the top right. It was kind of quick, but we know that that payment has applied, and you can see it is no longer listed as our saved payments. That completes our video on posting net positive payments. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact support or look in our knowledge base. Thank you and have a great day.